So as mentioned earlier, my name is Reverend Rev Wasileski, and I am a Persian Gulf veteran of Operation Desert Fox, and I also was deployed to former Yugoslavia. I'm a lifetime member of Veterans for Peace. I started my spiritual adventure. I had a battlefield conversion experience when I was on my ship. I was stationed aboard USS Stout, DDG 55, and it was December 17th, 1998, and Bill Clinton was on impeachment for lying under oath about Monica Lewinsky. And we launched 52 Tomahawk cruise missiles into Iraq during the impeachment trial. And President Clinton said that he was a war president, and he pointed at us as his warriors. But while I was over there, it was December 17th, as I mentioned, and they were playing Christmas carols on the ship. And the executive officer comes over the 1MC and he says that Christmas carols are the perfect tomahawking cruise missile music. And I was having trouble understanding. That movie, there was a movie, Wag the Dog. I don't know if anybody's seen it. They were showing that movie on the ship while Desert Fox was happening. And so I watched the movie Wag the Dog, and I went up to the deck, and I'm like, oh my God, how are people not figuring this out? And I got really angry. I was standing there, I was trying to do my duty, in which all young people, when they're trying to find a way in the world, and this is all the young people here, when they were young, they wanted to try to serve. And service is a noble ideal. And we're not going to make it to where we're trying to get to unless we all serve. So as young people, those of us that held up our hand, we were doing it to serve. And so as I was over there trying to figure out how an impeachment trial and going to war against Iraq on the same lies, they said the exact same thing, weapons of mass destruction. That's what they said a couple of years later when they reinvaded Iraq. Same exact thing that they told us in 1998. So as I was standing there trying to figure out how this was duteous, how this was honorable, and it was Christmas time, and I'm hearing the Christmas carols. And the Christmas carol is talking about the Prince of Peace. So I'm listening to this carol about the Prince of Peace, and at this point in my life, I consider myself an atheist. And I consider myself an atheist because my stepfather, who was a Vietnam veteran, committed suicide in my mother's house, and I found his body. And I knew when I was 15 years old, when I found his body in our house, I knew right then that there was no such thing as God, because God could never let something like this happen. How could God let this happen? So as time went on, I'm standing on the port quarterdeck of the USS Stout with my heart is atheistically inclined, and I'm hearing the Christmas carols about Jesus, and I got really angry. I got so angry I felt betrayed. And there's this thing that all veterans feel, and they sometimes, I don't want to speak for all veterans, but a lot of us, there's this thing called betrayal trauma. And we gave our heart, our life, we signed our life away, and we trust that it's going to be used for the goodness of humanity and for the goodness of America. And when I was over there and thinking about Bill Clinton and thinking about how I couldn't figure out how it was duteous or honorable, could not figure it out. And I decided that it was not honorable or duteous to be there. And I got angry. And I didn't know what to do. And in that moment, I prayed. And I was shown a vision, and I had complicated stuff, and I'll talk about it afterwards if anybody wants to talk about it. But I was told that the short of it was I had an understanding that human beings were not supposed to kill human beings, and that when I got home, I was supposed to talk about it. And so when I got home, a year later, the USS Cole was attacked, and I was in school. I was at Greenfield Community College when USS Cole was attacked, And that's when I knew. I tried to forget about it. I tried to run away from it. I tried to forget. But when the call was hit, I knew that my past came running up to me. I was on USS Stout. USS Cole was our sister ship. And it mattered to me that the Cole had been ripped open. And it ripped open my heart just like the ship was ripped open. And then a year later, after USS Cole was attacked, it was September 11th. And that's when I joined Veterans for Peace. I joined Veterans for Peace on September 12th, 2001. And so I've been a member for 25 years now. It's going to come up in 25 years, 24 years and a half. So Veterans for Peace is an organization that is dedicated to eradicating the tools of war. And so I have to just say right now, peace is an inherently spiritual topic. Peace is inherently spiritual. And so sometimes spirituality is referred to as metaphysics. And so there's some folks that are really smart and like to use those kind of terms, metaphysics and spiritual mathematics. And it's kind of hard to quantify spiritual mathematics. It's very difficult. But it's simple to understand it. And what I'm going to say this, in regular math, when you multiply or add negatives, it does things to the, and when you add a negative, it's actually subtracting. And when you multiply a negative, it's dividing. No, that's not quite right either. When you multiply by a negative, it turns to negative. So metaphysics, when we talk about metaphysics, and we've all heard the idea that the ends justify the means. We've been beat with this statement over the head our entire lives. The ends justify the means, and it's a key idea in just war theory. And today I'm going to talk about just war, and I'm going to talk about the idea that you can't use a vile, evil technique, spiritual mathematics. You cannot use something that's evil and vile as destruction and violence to try to create peace. The spiritual math does not work. So we all say we want peace, and we're all trying to create it. But here's the simple fact. If violence worked to create peace, it would have worked a long time ago. We would have had peace when Cain slew Abel, we would have had peace then. And the simple fact, spiritual mathematics, violence cannot bring peace. It can't happen. It's impossible. And so the thing is, we want to have peaceful ends. If you want peaceful ends, you have to use peaceful means. It's just spiritual mathematics. It doesn't add up to say, let's go kill and have peace. In regular mathematics, you can't throw a negative in there. It creates a negative. So just take that same concept and apply it to spiritual work, to creating peace, the metaphysics of peace. And so when we also know that the violence doesn't create peace because we haven't had peace in all of history. It's never happened. We keep trying violence, and we keep trying violence some more, and we keep trying more violence. It's never worked. It's never going to work. It's the wrong tool. You cannot build peaceful tomorrows with the tool of violence. It's impossible. So, how are we going to make peace? How does peace happen? How can we get there from here? And understanding that violence, it destroys the earth, it's expensive, it destroys those of us that go over there. 22 veterans a day are taking their lives, and those that aren't taking their lives are living with the burden. When you take up the total sum of what violence does to our society, it's the thing that's holding us back. It is the thing that's holding us back from reaching the promised land. It's our idea that we can make peace by force. Violence can create peace. So, humanity, we are going to have conflict. It's part of who we are. And it doesn't make us bad people when we have conflict with each other, right? It does not. But how we go about affecting the solution to the conflict. And when we don't have much imagination and we're angry, The weapon looks like a way of affecting the change. But when we're able to sit back and be more spiritual and approach it from an upper point of view, we see that violence has never worked, and so let's try something that works. And we know that, and we do know because Reverend King and Gandhi has showed us that pacifism and pacifism is not pacifism. They're not the same thing. Not the same thing at all. And the true pacifist is as dedicated as the violent person, and they're willing to lay down their life for justice. The difference is they're not willing to destroy and they're not willing to kill for it. So if we want to create this world of peace that we're all hoping to be in, we have to find ways of becoming pacifists ourselves. And we have to promote pacifism. And it could also be called loving nonviolence. And if you think about it too, there's so many, I could stand here and talk about this for hours. But it's the only way to be in conflict with someone and still carry out the golden rule. The golden rule is do unto others. It's impossible to hold a gun or a weapon over somebody and hold the golden rule. It can't be done. So the golden rule is the ultimate truth, is that we have to treat each other with dignity and respect as we'd like to be treated. And when we apply that to our conflicts, pacifism, loving nonviolence, Gandhi and Reverend King tactics are the only things that come out. We're going to have conflict. But if we choose peaceful tactics, we can achieve peaceful ends. And that's something that humanity has always been after. We've always wanted to see the peaceful end. We've never been able to get there because we've always been using violence. It's time for us to choose nonviolence. And we're going to have an opportunity coming up, I think. It feels like our government is, and we're all feeling this. Our government is acting in strange ways. And I wrote a poem recently that they're putting the mock in democracy. And if the Second Amendment, folks, the Second Amendment was written for time like this. And if the Second Amendment folks act and we let them take the lead, the destruction and the violence that's going to come from that we'll never get over that. It's time for us as pacifists to take a lead, and it might be time for us to think about filling up the jails. And it's time for moral courage. Pacifists are not cowards. And conflict, those who are involved in conflict, cowards don't get involved in conflict. It's only those that are brave. And so if we want to see that land where our kids are growing up in a sustainable, peaceful, loving world, we are being invited right now. Our government is inviting us to learn the ways of pacifism. And on Veterans Day, as we honor veterans, I just feel like I have to say that the theory of peace by force is a false theory. And if you want to achieve true peace, you have to use peaceful means. The spiritual mathematics are right there for us. And I'm going to close out today's sermon with a poem from my book, Live Free or Die. It's available. I work with warrior writers, and we write a lot of poems. And this one was one of the ones that's not as bad as the other ones. So this piece is called Just War is Just War. The first casualty in war is the truth. The causes of the wars are always lies. Read your Machiavelli. War is a racket. A few profit and the many pay. If we knew the truth, we would never go to war. Plain folks have nothing to fight about. Just war is a lie. Just war is just death. Just war is just maiming. Just war is just destruction. Just war is exactly what it says it is. Just war.